Okay, Patreon requested, aka I love my Patreons. We have this scene. You might recognize it for the AI. And we want to make this AI use Rootmotion. So, how do we do that? First thing is our AI, the way we set it up, we have all this fun stuff. We have the model here. Now, in the AI unit, currently, the nav mesh is what moves everything, right? So everything just follows along with the nav mesh. We don't want that if we're using Rootmotion. We actually want to pull the model out, grab the AI object, and we'll just child it there. And now, this guy can take on Rootmotion, because so he'll drive the actual movement. So that's step one. The other thing we should do is we're going to create, because this is the easy way of doing it. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the easy way of doing it. We need a compass. And that's it. That's it for the compass. I've been sick. So, one of the other things we need to do is we need to set up our animator. So now, right now, locomotion wise, we have a speed. We also need a direction. And direction wise, I'm going to turn this to 2D freeform Cartesian. And let's see what I have here. I'll use my movement animation set because it is nice and pretty. I like it. So we need an idle, which we have, which I'm going to replace that because this is a different set. And I don't think I'll throw in the run for this, but I mean, it's the exact same thing. Slight difference. So I'm going to do a turn. So let's add a few more motions here. Let's zero this off for now. So the other thing is we have speed. I'm going to put one of these to direction. It doesn't matter which order you do it in as long as you set these values right. So we have a turn left, turn right. Right, so direction wise, if we're turning left, we're going to say negative, we'll say 45 and 45 for our directions. Running. Now this value can actually be anything you want. Like this could be, like with the nav mesh, we were using the actual speed of the agent to input into here to see the difference between running and walking and idle. With the Rootmotion, we're going to give it a value, so we can actually, like, we can give it, I can say, you know, at a value of 5,000 we're walking, at 0 we're idle, at 10,000 we're running. So it really doesn't matter as long as you know what it is. So let's use running. We'll say 10, and walking will be 5, idle will be 0. So let's add 2 more, because we need a walking turn. I'm going to use these arch loops. So we're going to be walking, and if we're going left, we're negative 45, 45. Something like that. There we go. So now, as the speed comes up, he's walking. And if I change directions, the direction might be a little harsh, so I'm going to take these up to 90. There we go. So when we go full direction, he goes pretty wild. So that's one of those things you might have to alter a bit. I'll take the speed down so he's doing the full walk. Let's get a little bit of a hop there happening. I think that might be because I have the turns in there. And pull those turns out for a second. We're walking arch loop. That's weird that it's doing that. So let's see, because these ones should be pretty close to that, right? So let's, I don't know, let's take, I'm gonna get rid of this guy for a second. Oh, you know what? I didn't change walking. Walking is still this type. I gotta, if I'm gonna blend it, I need to blend it with the right animation, right? So that happens when I do videos late at night. There, that looks a little better. Okay, so let's bring in our turns. So turning is, these are zeros, and right is 90, left is negative 90. So there we have our turns. And if we bring our speed down to 0, he's just going to do a basic normal turn. So now we could add in the running turns too, right? It's just a matter of adding in the animations and taking these speeds up to like 10 or whatever it is. But we don't need to worry about that. Okay, so what do we need? We'll put it on this guy, I suppose. You could keep it on this thing if you want to be consistent, but you don't have to. So let's, there is this guy, and this is actually on the ecosystem. Make sure when you're doing a search, make sure to do it like 100% accurate. Sometimes things don't like to show up. But this is a beautiful, I mean, you could do it without this one, but it takes a few different dot operations. We don't really feel like doing with that, do we? So this is going to be our Y angle. So if I hit play on that, I'm going to deactivate the AI itself, and we just get this rotation. Right, so if I take the compass and I rotate it, we should see he's going to the left, he's going to the right. Okay, cool. So now, what are we going to do? We are going to get agent steering target. Now our AI agent isn't on this object, and you could put it there. It really doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't affect anything. We just need to tell it, like, hey, that's our agent. So this is our steering target. And we're going to get that every frame. And we're going to look at, so we want, I'm going to put these in this order, right? Because we want to get the target and then tell the compass to look at the steering target. We can keep vertical on it, that's fine, not a big deal. And if we wanted to, we could also clamp rotation. You don't have to. It might help with some minor issues down the road, but we can do that. We can clamp compass rotation on its Y, say negative 90 to 90. And that way we won't get into where it goes backwards and everything flips around and does all that dumb shit. Okay, so that there. Oh. So the only other thing we'd have to do is that all works. Is now we may not want to feed this into the animator all the time. So let's do flow compare. Alright, so if the Y angle is equal, actually no, let's use the lesser greater than. No, we can use the equal. So if we're say equal to 0, and let's give it a tolerance of like, I don't know, 8, right? So if it's equal to that, don't set in animator. And we're just going to copy this whole bloody thing, paste it here. Ba-doop. And this one is going to be the opposite. We want, if we're less than that, set in animator. So let's take that away. And also, if we're greater than it, set in the animator. So this is the beauty part of the tolerance, because what we're saying is 8. So we're talking about -8 to 8. So we have this bit of a band that we're talking about now, right? So if I now hit play, I should have turned my AI off first. Which you'll see the AI is walking away because this thing's moving, but he's not the parent, right? So, anyways, if we see the compass, he is over here, and I take the compass and I'm totally not clamping at all. Let's spin this guy. Right, you know what? Here, let's turn that off. Should have done that right in the start. Alright, so right now this is in the set in the animator. And the negative rotation is showing 0. So it's not setting in the animator. And if I turn the compass, it starts to want to set it in the animator. We go back. So it just kind of gives us that buffer, so we're not constantly setting into the animator. You know, if it's, you get that tiny little, oh, we got a half a point this way, let's set it in the animator, right? So we're just going to set animator float of our game object's fine. If you don't have this FSM on this game object, you would target the model, obviously. So Y angle every frame, and you can put a damp on that if you want. 0.1, 0.2. But now you'll see, now if I take the compass and I turn it, he's going to want to face it. So, that part's all working. Cool. That works. So, when it comes down to the AI, what we need to do is the speed's going to go to 0. And you actually can, if you really wanted to, 0.01, and then crank this thing up, and it'll actually help. The nav mesh will actually help turn a bit on that Rootmotion. I'm not going to worry about that, it's not a big deal. And so in our effects, in here, I don't want these speeds. We're not changing these speeds. Apparently my cat is attacking something. And no, I don't like cats. I have two, but I don't like them. They're a-holes. So, I've got a dog. I like the dog. But yeah, so we don't want to set those because the speed's going to come from the Rootmotion. So we need to tell the Rootmotion that it needs to go, right? Like it needs these speeds. Now, there is one difference. Because if you had, we'll put a cube up here so I can visualize it with you, because we're learning together. So if your AI was going to run to this cube, we could tell it like, hey, you're going at whatever set speed, and it'll run there. The problem is with the nav mesh, if we tell it, it knows, you know, as it travels, once it gets to a point, to stop. But the Rootmotion doesn't. So we need to have a system that defines that. So in our AI, or no, let's go into this guy. No, let's go into the AI. We need, and we can probably do it right in our effects, is we need to control that speed in here. But this one also needs to tell when the target is within range to stop, right? So there is one difference that we're going to need is this guy is going to now need a target, right? So we have a target. The other thing we could do is we need a vector 3 target. So let's say a v3 target, because we won't always have a game object target, so we kind of have two, I suppose. So in our brain, right, if we were to, for example, patrol, you know, what is patrolling now? So patrolling is we set a destination, right? And if we go into patrol, we can see we get all these spots. We do our stuff, and this guy's going to use a game object. That is his destination. Now, in the nav mesh agent, it doesn't take the game object. The action itself converts it into a vector and gives it into the nav mesh unit. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to add set game object, set FSM game object, and actually owner would be fine. Well, you know what, we're going to do this anyways. It's going to make me do this. Set FSM game object. Don't worry about any of that crap. We'll deal with that in a second. So we're going to go into the effects. Our target is going to be our mark. So now I'm going to change this back over to use owner. Now let's move that up here. Right. So now this mark will know, hey, we have a target. So the other thing is that one's fine now. Sleep. Again, here we have set agent destination to the bed, and that's fine. But we also need to tell the effect system I'm going to put this up here, to the effects that target is the bed. Sleeping, right? So we might have to, in here, tell the effect system to more or less stop. But we'll get to that in a second. So we heard something. That's running the AI, the smooths. So we're moving towards, so we're setting agent destination. So this one we don't have a target, right? What we do have is a vector. Oh. I don't know what the hell is going off with that. So I'm going to move this up to the top and move it down here just to keep things organized. And we have a V3 target, and that's that position. Searching is going to do essentially that same thing, which is we've already got that covered from that one, so we don't have to change that one. Chasing target. Is we'll have to go into the attacking, and here we have that. So we will, from there, do that same thing. We're going to drag this guy in, and we're going to, oh, did I grab the right thing? Yes, stats. Oh, yeah, the effects target is the target, and this can go back to owner. And I'm going to move that up there. Alright, so the attack now does the same thing. I think the alerted we don't need to deal with. I mean, you can with the turning, like right now we have, where is it? Is it in this one where we do the turn? The smooth look at? Here, I mean, we could tell the system to look at this. I mean, the smooth look at will technically work, but I mean, we should probably tell. So we'll come back to that one. Alright, so then we say lost target, set agent destination. So we are setting a new destination. So we are going to set that like this. There we go. So now in the effects, we have these things. So we have we have our target game object and a target vector 3. So all we really need to do is this guy does the expression, and he's doing that. We're not even using those, so I'm gonna get rid of these weights. We're not even using them, so I'm just gonna get rid of them. And here, let's get rid of this stuff because it's deactivated as well. Clean those states out. So if we're happy, we've got our target, and we know we can do get distance. And the distance is going to be to ourselves or to a vector 3. No, to a target. We're not using the vector 3 in this one. Oh, well, god damn it. We're not using that either. Yes, yeah, we are. Don't mind me. So there's the distance. Distancer, apparently. So float compare. So if distance is, less than, we'll say 3. to slow down. I'm going to copy this whole state. And here, if we are greater than 3, we're going to speed up. There we go. So, if we are slowed down, well, I guess no, this would be for the speed. So we want to, how are we going to want to do this one? We want to set float, set animator float, and we're just going to drag him in and go speed. Oh, we're going to give it a salt out. No, it doesn't need to be every frame. Okay, so speed for walking is what did we say? 5. Cool. And this is where you can literally put in any number you want, depending on how you set up the animator. And here, for slowing down, we would say 0. Now this one I am going to use every frame, and I'm going to put a dampening on it. Right? And which, I mean, I guess I could do that same thing here. So it's not so instant. Right? And then we more or less need to keep doing that along the whole line. But let's see how that looks. So the AI is, oh, we need to go into this guy. And let's go to the effects. So he has no target. And he should have, oh, he wants to sleep. Why did not that? Oh, I wonder if I lost my layers. Because I was setting everything up, like as I was kind of cleaning everything up and doing stuff with these for a demo. But anyways, let's just drag one of these beds in for now. I probably broke some of the logic up there. So we're going to set destination to a cube. Okay, so now he's got a cube. Let's go check out our effects. The effects is, okay, we're getting distance. Distance is 45. We need to be setting the speed in the animator. I look at the animator and we're not seeing a speed. How did I mess that up? Oh, that's... Oh, you know what? Lord thundering. Lord thundering. You know how we have the animator where we get the velocity and set the speed? Yeah, let's turn that one off. Because that's fighting for the speed, and we don't want that. Alright, that makes more sense. I was like, what the hell? What's controlling the speed? So as you see, he is walking in Rootmotion. And he should turn and everything should be fine. But as you see, he is turning. Oh, he's all confused. So now this is one of the issues where we might have to do some tweaking, right? Because we only did the one, right? So right now he's actually in the chase state. Right, so he's not running because we didn't give him the ability to run in the animator. But he is following just fine, and he's not going to stop because we haven't done that portion of the thing yet. Never mind. Yeah, see how he's all fuckered. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna spin around and attack and do crazy shit. So we need to fix that. Right. So how do we fix that little part? So well, and really all that is let's open this up from the 8 degrees. A little higher. Let's go like 10. It doesn't gotta be much. Alright, so let's go into here. Into our effects. So the alerted, now alerted uses a vector, right? So I'm going to copy this guy. But we're not going to have a target. But we are going to have a target vector. Right, and same thing in this one. We aren't going to have a target, but we will have a target vector. And if we're chasing, we will have a target, so we'll copy this guy over. And now this is here, like I wouldn't put it to 5, I'd put it to 10, so he's running, right? If he's confused, I don't think we actually do anything, because that's more of him just going, what? Sorry, so let's give that a little whirl. Right, so now, there he is all Rootmotion-y working. And if let's see how he works. Right, if we lose him, we should probably want to stop him for that confusion or slow him down or something, but alright, but see, he's moving to that vector, or he should be, right? And now he's doing the wander, which, okay, granted, the wander could probably use a bit of work, because obviously the distancing wasn't very good. And if we do the chase, we might have the distance a little too far, which is, isn't a big deal. That's an easy thing to fix. Where is the, right, because we want, I'm going to pause this just so I don't get an infinite loop, right? So we have a distance there of 3. Let's try 2. So he's trying to turn a little bit. I don't know how these attack animations are working with turning as well, but overall pretty good. I mean, we could probably increase the speed of this smooth look. That smooth look will still help. I should probably turn that off so you can hear me better. Like you can run smooth look as well to help boost up the rate to which of him looking. But yeah, so obviously 3 is too far. And Okay, let's just run one little quick little test. There's one scenario here that I think needs a tiny bit of work, and I just can't quite think of it right now. But I'm going to make this guy run, so we don't trigger him. And the AI right now is, he wants to go to sleep. Right, so at this point in time, logic-wise, I guess he's working. Oh, no, we have a loop. In the brain. A loop in the brain. Go figure on that. That's in the sleep. That was in the sleeping state, I bet you. Do we have anything here? Nope. They have sight systems. Distance to the cube. I'm assuming it's going to be something with that distance. If it's less than that, we go to sleep. That should be fine. I'm not too sure why he is deciding this is a bad thing. Alright, so let's do this. Take away these things. The effects are happy. There we go, yeah, so it's one of those. Right, so true. That's not the issue. So that guy there is obviously causing us issues. So if we float compare, he goes to end, and that's giving us an infinite loop. Alright, apparently I screwed something up along here, because if we end, he goes here, which is going to run that. And he should be should have a way to. Alright, you know what? I'm going to put end up here. Alright. Let's see if that solves that one little issue. I could have sworn we had an action in there that told the system to do its calculations first. Because ultimately, if he was here saying that he was good, and it's going to the decision tree, and the decision tree kept saying sleep, and he's just going back, and he's just saying, no, I'm good. This one's like, nope, you're tired. This one, nope, I'm good. And that's what the loop was about, right? And obviously that's not the case, right? So he's sleeping, he ends. Right, so here he's going back and forth, but he should not be doing the sleep so rapidly, because this should be changing. But I could have sworn, and maybe I'm wrong about that, in the utility, because the utility should be running. Which is sleep. current condition score. Score is 99. And that seems kind of odd because his score should be like next to nothing. I don't know what I did to this one. Are we tired? Oh, because I'm trying to get things from the root now. And I moved objects around. Duh. Right, so all the stats are messed up. I don't know if I'm going to bother fixing that. It's part of the utility thing. But obviously, you would have to change those because we can't get the root of getting those values if this thing's no longer the root because this guy's the root. I mean, we could move this logic onto that one. That would work too. But anyways, yeah, since we're doing a reference to the root and we've changed roots, that's obviously causing issues. So I'm not going to worry about that right now, though. So the other thing is, what else do we have? Now, it was kind of weird that he was constantly going, but that shouldn't happen. Like in the case where that sleep thing really wouldn't be happening, because it was, if you watch, this guy here is going ballistic, right? If I move the bed, I don't know if this is dynamic, if I made that dynamic or not. Oh yeah, I made it dynamic. I mean, this is going to fire lots, right? Which is why right now, if you look at him, when he gets to the middle, he's going to start spinning in circles. And that's really because this is firing ballistically. It shouldn't be, but it's doing that because we changed the root and we haven't gone into the utility AI to change those things from the root. So that's firing, because normally he would be in this state right now and his speed would be 0. But it's not. But don't worry about that. I'm sure you guys will fix that on your end. But anyways, that is how we convert things to Rootmotion, right? We simply separate the nav mesh from the animated object. The animated object becomes our root. And if you are using this system, make sure, apparently, any of the objects that are going to reference the root are now either referencing this object or referencing that object, or move this logic to the root. Either or will work fine. It's not a big deal. What else do we have? And then really beyond that, we have our turning system. And this one, like I said, I mean, you could put a dampening on this if we really, really wanted to. And that'll help keep things a little smooth. Again, you don't have to, but overall, turning system's pretty basic. And then from there, I just tapped into the effects system, where we have to just control that distance, right? We need to tell this system where we want to go, right? Because we need to keep track of that distance. And there's probably a few different ways we could do that, but anywho, we just want to say, hey, this distance here is, from this target object, and it might be, it might almost be better to get the steering target in these states and use a distance to that. And if the steering target is null, then it would just slow down. But anyways, that's pretty much how we would go with Rootmotion. I said I would do more and I'd fix up these little parts, but I don't need the video to drag on forever. Main thing is just the flip, the turn, and the effects, and then you're good to go. Cool.